So guys, now next step, we have done this management, license, provisioning, and platform. Device certificate we are using self-signed. So when I will talk about certificate, there are two types of certificates in SSL. One is self-signed and one is CA. Now guys, we will talk about VLANs configuration. So before that guys, I want you to know, you need to tell me in this picture representation, what is node or what are servers, what are virtual servers. So there are three components which we discussed previously. One is pool member, and one is node. So in our topology, guys, how many VLANs we need? Anyone guess? How many data VLANs? I'm talking about data VLANs. In our case, how many VLANs will be needed? This is the topology we have. We have one client to F5 connectivity and one F5 to the server. Let me make switch also here. L2 switch. Here, let's say firewall is coming into picture. Then your servers are connected to layer 2 switch. Server 1, server 2, server 3. These are your application server. And this network is which network, guys? This network is internal network. And internal network is in which subnet? 10.2.2.0/24. And this one is our external segment. So by default, guys, this question will be asked. What is two ARM mode architecture in F5? Very, very important, guys. Two ARM mode architecture means you are using two VLANs or two interfaces. One interface of F5 is used for external. One interface is used for internal. So how many interfaces are there? Two interfaces we will be using. One for internal connectivity, one for external. So how many VLANs are required? Two VLANs. One is external, one is internal. But by default, we have three VLANs. One is HA VLAN also, but we are not talking about that VLAN right now. For data architecture, for data plane, we have mainly two VLANs by default in our topology, external and internal. So let me check the chat if you guys were correct. Two. There are three, Irshad. Maybe everyone, because we have. See, we can have one interface also. That concept is called one arm mode. We will talk about. But in our lab environment, we are working on two arm mode. Our external connectivity is separate. This is on 192.168.1.0/24. So guys, now what happens? Your physical interface, let's say this physical interface is connected to switch, then you have servers. So this physical interface first is there in your F5 by default. It's available. And this is in the format naming schema 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 like this. Where this one represent your slot number and one represent your port number. Let's say you don't have a chassis splits. You have only an F5 with one slot like this one. And these are your port number. Very, very important, guys. So how you can check it? You need to go to F5. You need to go to network. And then you need to go to interfaces, guys. Can you see this? 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 MAC address, whether they are 10 gig port or 1 gig port. Guys, can anyone tell me whether these are 10 gig ports or 1 gig port? These are 10 gig ports. So by default in hardware, in F5 virtual images, you have 4 interfaces. First one is management, then 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. That is the first thing. So first you have interfaces. Then this interfaces gets bind to your VLANs. And then this VLANs get bind to your self IP. In F5 it is called self IP, but in Cisco switching term this is called SVI, or you can say IP address of layer 2 VLAN. When I talk about this VLAN, that are called layer 2. But do you remember in VMware we have taken 4 networks. For management, we have taken 192.168.137.0/24. For external interface, we have taken 192.168.1.0/24. For internal network, we have taken 10.2.2.0/24. So this VLANs subnet we need to configure in F5 now. We have configured in virtual VMware, but this needs to be configured in F5 also, guys. So that is why it's called self IP, guys. Self IP is nothing but SVI. I will tell you the difference of self IP and SVI. What does exactly it means? You can just treat it as it's a IP address of layer 2 VLAN. So your interface gets bind to VLAN and VLANs get bind to self IP. Just remember this concept, you will never forget. So when we do network setup, first we configure interfaces that are already there. Then we need to create VLANs. So first step, interfaces are already created. Then we need to create VLANs. And then we will associate that VLANs with particular interfaces. Then we will create an IP address layer 3 subnets and associate with VLANs. So table is self IP gets associated with VLAN, VLAN gets associated with interfaces. That is how it works. Very important, guys. Okay. Now what I will want to show you in real environment, how the traffic falls. How the traffic flows when we have firewalls also and switches also. So I will draw a topology for production environment, so that you can know I have an internet. Okay. Then I have firewall 1, firewall 2. This is your outside networks. Then I have inside zone of your firewall. Then we have core switch, let's say. These are our core switches. Core switch 1, core switch 2. Then we have this directly connected to our application server. This is by default a topology when we don't have F5 in picture. We have outside zone when we have inside zone. Now the requirement comes, hey, with it, I need an F5 in a current topology. My application will be accessible from internet. Now guys, what is the zone I need to create here? I want to launch F5 in my network. And customer says that these applications will be accessible from internet and it should be in separate zone. Now I will introduce my favorite zone, which is called DMZ zone. So to each firewall, there will be a DMZ zone. You can treat it like this. After that, I will mark like this. There will be a DMZ switch. Then we will have this DMZ to DMZ switch. We have our F5 connected in HA. After that, we will have one more switch. This can be your layer 2 switch. And through this switch, we have server 1, server 2, server 3. This is how do you deploy F5 in a production environment. This is F5.1, this is F5.2, and both are in HA. So this is your external interface. This is your internal interface. Now, guys, what is my architecture? I will define one IP schema. Now, let's say these segments are different, but this external segment is on 192.168.1.0 from our topology. And here we have 10.2.2.0/24. Okay. This firewall zone connected to a DMZ zone. This one interface. What will be IP of this interface, guys? Let's say this F5 interface external segment IP I've taken 192.168.1.50. This IP. What will be this IP interface IP? Firewall. Can you tell me? We have one interface, L3 interface between firewall and F5. And we have DMZ switch, layer 2 switch. What would be the IP of this interface of firewall? This interface of external I have assigned 1.50. Can I assign 192.168.1.51? Yeah. Okay. And this one I can assign 50 here, 51 here, and for this firewall I can assign 52. And this one is internal, so I will select 10.2.50. And can someone tell me this interface F5 to serve switch interface I have assigned this 10.2.2.50. What would be the server gateway in this case, guys? This is L2 switch. And this internal interface connected to F5 is on 10.2.50. So every interface has an IP address. F5 external IP I have taken from this network 192.168.1.0. I have assigned 1.50. Internal IP I have assigned 10.2.2.50. What would be my server gateway, guys? I'm talking about these servers. Can someone tell me in the chat quickly? If you understand that, you will understand the design. I need answer quickly on the chat. Excellent, Kalim. Floating IP, there we're not talking about floating IP. You treat it like a single F5 right now. Ashik is saying gateway, self IP, excellent. Sushil, very good, guys. That is called self IP. Self IP is nothing but a gateway of your server, or self IP is a directly connected interface of your F5. In this case, we need two self IP. One is this and one is this. Now we will create a network component. First, we will go to network. If you want to save this topology, guys, you can save it. Very, very important. If you understand this, you will understand F5 quickly. This is the production design, how F5 looks like in your network. And this is called two-arm architecture in F5 because you have interfaces of F5. Okay, now we will talk about lab for network component in F5. So I will go here. First, I will create VLANs in network VLANs. So I will create two VLANs. First one is external. And guys, in our network, we only have 3 servers, and all these 3 servers are in same network. So I will select untagged here. So you need to understand the difference between tagged and untagged. Anyone can tell me what is the difference of tagged and untagged, guys? We are talking about two interfaces. One is tagged interface and untagged interface. I have F5. F5 has one interfaces, and all my servers are in 10.2.2. Let's say 30, 10.2.2.31, 10.2.2.32. Here I have only one VLAN and all my servers are on same subnet. So should I make tagged or untagged? Untagged means all my VLANs are part of same interface. Let's say if this server is on different VLAN 10, if this server is on 20, this server is in 30, that is called tagged. I need to make a trunk interface. This is called trunk in Cisco and this is called access interface. Untagged means I have my one VLAN per interface. In this interface, I can only allow one VLAN that is called access port or untagged. Tagged means I need to pass multiple VLANs across this interface. So I need to allow 10 VLANs also to traffic to be passed, 20 also, 30 also. That is called tagged. Here I can configure multiple VLANs per interface. Multiple VLANs can be called on single interface. And access port means same one only in one interface, one VLAN can be allowed. So it depends on your scenario. Maybe in your scenario, servers can be on different VLAN, then you can make it tagged. But in our case, we have only one interface and one VLAN for external and one VLAN for internal. So we will make untagged interface. Now guys, I need to first check the MAC address. 90A1. So I will go to F5 and check what is my external interface. So that I will select untagged. My external interface is this one. So I need to check the MAC address of bridge 1. This is my external interface. This is 90A1. So what would be my external interface, guys? From this table, can quickly reply on the chat. From this interfaces, what will be my external interface? Excellent, guys. And let me check internal also, whether 1.2 or 1.3. My internal interface is Vimnet 2. I will check the MAC address. 90B5. Which MAC address is there in 1.3? I got it, guys. 1.1 is external, 1.3 is internal. So I will create external 1.1 untagged at finish. Internal 1.3 untagged. You can select the tag also, but tag is used when trunk port is there, when you have headers to be added on the frame, because this is a terminology for trunk interface. But we only have one VLAN for internal and one VLAN for external. We don't need tagged interface. So I'm not entering tag, it's taking by default value. So see guys, we have created interfaces which is by default available. Then we created two VLANs, one external and one internal. Now, if you go to interface, that will come up. Can you see this? Can someone tell me what does this 1.2 means? We have one more extra interface. For which VLAN it will be used? For which connectivity? We have management connectivity. Management interface can only be seen by CLI by this command list network interface. This one interface is left. This will be used for which? HA. Very good, guys. Really happy that you guys are getting. So we will leave it default. Now, what is the next step, guys? We have created interfaces. Interfaces are getting bind to VLANs. Now we will create self IP or an IP address which I will assign to external and internal. So we need to create two IP address, one from this network, external, and one for this network, internal. So I will go to interfaces, sorry, self IPs. This is how you go, self IP, create, I will select EXT, external self, you can write. IP address, this is an IP address assigned to an interface, the same way in firewall we do. Netmasks. And what is the VLAN? Can I told you, right? When we were talking about interfaces, I told you that first we create interfaces, interfaces are bind to VLANs, and VLANs are bind to self IP. So I'm associated self IP with my VLAN. And this port lockdown, I will come later on. This is basically that I want my network to be accessible on which port. This we will talk about when we will talk about admin port lockdown. So that is all. Now I will create one internal self. What is the IP? I will give 10.2.50. Should I select external or internal here, guys? VLAN. Is it correct settings? Or should I change to internal here? Very good, guys. Finish, allow default. Just select allow default. So that is all you need to get. Your network configuration is finished. You created interfaces by going into network interfaces. Then we created two VLANs, external and internal. And I bind this interface according to the MAC address of my matching with Vim network. Then we created self IP. So just remember this table. Your physical interfaces are associated with VLANs and VLANs are associated with self IPs. Self IPs are directly connected interfaces IPs. Now, should I make one more scenario for you guys? Previously, we taken I have servers and here I have L3 switch. Here also I have L3 switch. Then there is client. Now, can someone tell me what will be my server gateway in this case? So there are two scenarios. Either your server gateways can be F5 or either their server's gateway cannot be F5. In this case, your server gateway will be which one, guys? Will it be L3 switch or F5? Very important, very important question. Let's say this network is 10.2.2.0 and this network is 192.168.2.0. Now my question is, what would be server gateway? Whether it's an L3 switch? Vivek, please check again. Now between F5 and server, we are getting L3 switch. Previous case it was L2. Your gateway should be L3 or L2, Vivek. My question is, what is the gateway of your server? In OSI or network layer, your gateway is your L3 interface IP, not your F5, because there are two interfaces coming now. One between F5 and switch, one between switch and server. So all others are correct. No, Ketan. Ketan, it will be L3 switch because server is not directly. L3 is coming. Always gateway is your L3 IP. So now in this case, guys, my question is, my F5 wants to reach out to this server because F5 wants to reach out to the pool member. How it will reach? Because my self IP is this one. Self IPs are always directly connected, but my servers are in this case, this IPs. What I need a connectivity from F5 to the server. And L3 is coming into picture. Do I need anything? Let's see. Excellent, guys. Static routing. SNAT is also the case, but SNAT will come routing. We will need a routing. So routing I will add. That next hop will be this interface IP. 10. Let's say 2.51. So to reach out to destination 192.168.2.0, my next hop is 10.2.51. This one is 10.2.51 IP. This one interface is 10.2.50 because both are L3. So this is the route we will add. And how to add route? Network routes. Here you need to add. What is my destination, guys? My destination is 192.168.2.0. My gateway is 255.255.255.0. Sorry, net mask. And gateway is your this interface IP. So F5 is having a connectivity with L3 switch. And this IP is your gateway. Then you have servers. And your servers are on 192.168.2.0. So is it right, guys? Always your gateway will be your exit interface, which is closer to your destination. This is all your OSI terms. So this was the concept I wanted to talk. Very important, guys. Now after that, we have created interfaces, we have created VLANs, we have created self IPs. Next is we will create pool members. Then we will create, first we will create nodes, then we will create pool members, then pool, and then virtual server. So how many in my topology? This is the topology I'm using. I have one website, SIANETS.com. My server IPs are 10.2.2.30, 10.2.2.31, 10.2.2.32. Now first I will go to virtual servers, VMware, and we will go to red green server. I will show you how to configure red, green, and blue servers. So in your network, guys, you will have F5 will have 3 servers in our lab. One is red, one is green, one is blue. Now we need to configure red green server. These are Linux server. So we need to assign IP address across each server. So how to go? You have red green server. First go to red server, click on settings. This will be your Vimnet 2. All your servers will be in Vimnet 2, guys. Why? Because all these are our internal network. Very, very important, guys. In F5, we need 4 interfaces. For server, we need only 1 interface, right? That is called Vimnet 2. This is the red server, and RAM, you can keep it default. 128 MB. Very, very important, guys. How to configure red, green, blue servers. Now I will go to green, settings. This is how you can create green server, which is on Vimnet 2. Now blue. First assign all red, green, blue server on Vimnet 2, guys. Very, very important. So once you configure red, green, blue server in Vimnet 2, RAM, you can keep it default. How to give assign IP address. So your red server or green server will come like this. Let me show you for one. I will close this. So it will be little slow, so don't worry. So this is how you're open. So what is the default credential for login into this? Username is root, password is root. Username and password for login into red, green and blue servers are, so to come outside, Control Alt. Username is root, password is root. Small, it's not caps, I'm just writing. Username, ROOT, password is ROOT. So now you need to click on this red icon, go little slow. Now it will ask for credentials again. Control Alt, enter credentials. Root. Now can you see this network tab? In network tab, go to internet. This is how you will assign. I have assigned blue server as 10.2.2.32 and gateway I will select 10.2.2.50 and then I will say activate static. Then I will go to this black screen terminal and reboot. If you don't reboot, your IP address will not be permanent. Same case with red server. You first click on red icon, login root, password root, go to network tab, Ethernet. This I have given 10.2.2.30. My gateway is 10.2.2.50. And I will select activate static. And I will go to this terminal, black screen, and reboot. Now we have configured red, blue. I will go to green. I will log in. Username is root, password root. I will go to this root. I will go to network tab, Ethernet, and IP address I've already configured. So you can configure like this. I'm just changing my gateways. Activate static. And I will reboot. That's all, guys. We have configured red, green, and blue. First thing, just right click settings. All these servers are on VMnet 2. All these servers will be on VMnet 2. Second thing, you assign an IP. Once you assign it, my next case is I will go to local traffic. First, I will create nodes. Then nodes will be assigned to your pool member. So node is nothing but an IP address of your server where your application is hosted. Pool member is IP address plus port number. So we will create this. So it's opening. I will go to nodes in local traffic. I will create 3 servers. First server I will give S1. An address 10.2.30. Finish. Create server 2. IP 10.2.2.31. Finish. So I'm creating 3 servers, 3 nodes. After we will create pool member. Pool member is IP plus port. One more I need. You can give any name like red, green, blue also you can give. So first step is completed. Now I will go to pools. Local traffic, pools. After that I will click create. And I will give name as pool of RGB. This health monitor we will come later on. I will assign TCP. Health monitor is something to detect whether server is up or down. It's a separate topic. Now I will go here load balancing method. I will select round robin. So when customer request comes in from 2F5, when customer hits 2F5 virtual server, let's say SIANETS.com, F5 should send request to which server? Server 1, server 2, or server 3. It depends on load balancing algo that we will talk about. It's also part of syllabus. Now I will go to node list here, this one. I will assign server 1, port number 80. By default, they are listening on port 80. Then I will select server 2, port 80. Server 3, port 80. I will add all this server with port number and create a pool. If everything is fine, this should come green. If it's not coming green, then there is some issues. Maybe your server's gateways are not your self IP. Your server gateway of red green server should be this one. Very, very important. And your MAC address should match. Second thing, and they all need to be in VMnet 2. These are the 3 things which you need to take care. So what I did, I created a node and I assigned on this pool. Can you see? I have 3 IP address plus port number. So this is called pool members. And pool members are called in your pool. So this is how the combination is. So first we created interfaces, VLANs, self IPs, then we created nodes, and we added pool members in pool. Now what is the next step, guys? We have created 6 steps: interfaces, VLANs, self IP. Then we created node, pool members, and pool. What is the 7th step, guys? Anyone? Now I have created this setup. Now I want to deploy one application SIANETS.com on F5. For that, what I need? This is my URL. In this URL in F5 is called what? Let me check the chat. Virtual server. Excellent, guys. So I will create one virtual IP and I will assign pool to that. I will go to virtual server, local traffic rate. I will give the name RGB VIP and I will select source IPs any. I don't want any restriction. All can access because it's coming from internet. What is the IP I will give? I will give from external network. I will give 192.168.1.40 and port number is for my application I'm assigning HTTPS. If I need to select A443, then HTTPS. So I'm just creating a HTTP web. Okay, guys. So I will go further on and just go downwards. Nothing change here. TCP just by default. I will go here in pool. Can you see pool? I will assign pool of RGB. I'm just creating a web with IP. IP is my external network. So my external network is in which network? It's on 192.168.1.0/24. And I will assign pool. Finished. So it will take time. Can you see? Your VIP is also up. You can go here, click on this, then resources. Can you see pool I have assigned? So now I will try to access this virtual server from my machine. I'll go to HTTP 192.168.1.40. Hooray! Our lab is successful. If I refresh, green. Can you see load balancing is happening? Sometimes red server is opening, sometimes green, sometimes blue. So it means our load balancing request is going distributed equally. Finally, our lab is successful. Customer is happy. Even my one server is down. Let's say I turn off one of my server. Red server I am making down. Now you will see you will not get red server. Can you see still your website is accessible? Now traffic will go to green and blue. So that is what I told you an advantage. Your application is 24/7 accessible. I want my application redundancy. So that is how your redundancy works.